Hey everyone, time for a daily check-in. Say hi. I see the kids have just come home from a bike ride. Friday homeschooling is in progress. Not my kid. I send my kid to his dad's, who is much better at homeschooling than me. 'Cause I don't have any time, and I'm in Zoom meetings all day, every day, and it's kind of insane. Haven't gotten to cook too much lately, but I did have a killer and insane game of Monopoly last night. All the kids and me, and you may not know this about me, but I am a killer Monopoly player. And it doesn't matter if they're small children that I'm playing with. No. I will teach them the ways of the game. And you know, there's no loans, there's no forgiveness of money owed. The rules are followed. We have Cooney rules, and Cooney rules include the $500 for free parking, because that makes for a more interesting game. And other cards go into the free parking, so that's important. I have many strategies, and I try to impart them to children, and the children try to save their money instead of trying to make money by putting the houses and hotels on, and I'm trying to teach them to invest. So Monopoly is a really interesting game to play with the family, because it always gets everyone's emotions up, and it's so interesting to see the competition and to see how some people can react to losing with resilience and who can't, and who gets extraordinarily angry and who can handle it and who doesn't. So last night was all Monopoly with family, and I won the first game brilliantly, taught some much needed lessons to the children. So let's consider that my homeschooling for the week. I think some real life lessons were learned in this Monopoly game, that you can win with the cheapest properties if you invest very quickly and hotel the crap out of that stuff, and then you can take over the world. And getting those boardwalk and park places, it's only going to get you so far. It was a close game, though. My stepson almost won. But he didn't invest and put up any houses. I tried to tell him. So that was good. Someone says, please start a podcast. You know what? I am working on that. Had a conversation with one of my former grad students yesterday about exactly that. The podcast will be called Karakuni Afterlife, I think. I've got a digital look. I think I have music. So working on it. I have to figure out platforms. I have to figure out how to do the podcast without the people in the room, which is useful. I mean, people do that, but people like to do video too. So let me know, like, in the comments, do you need your podcast with video on YouTube? Do you care? How would you like to do this or not? What platforms do you use for podcasts? I'm figuring this out. And I have two podcast ideas. One it's called Karakuni Afterlife or Afterlives. Maybe Afterlives is better. I don't know. But that'll be about how kind of my shtick of history is applicable. It's the history repeats itself, that you can see even antiquity all around you, that we shouldn't be so loath to compare the modern and the ancient worlds. We're not genetically different. Our social systems aren't hugely different. And we've had a lot of modernist exceptionalism for a while, thinking that we in the modern world have it all figured out. And I think that right now we are quickly and easily seeing how we are just as vulnerable as anybody, well, not anybody, but just as vulnerable, we human beings, as in the ancient world. So that's the podcast idea number one. Podcast idea number two is about women, careers, motherhood, walking the line and trying to figure out how to negotiate it all, personal lives, work-life balance, those kinds of things, much more personal. And I think I'll do that with somebody else too. So it'll be a partnership, but let's see what happens on that one. And I think I'm going to do that with my friend from the Getty, Rebecca Peabody. So I don't know what we should call it. Life on the Edge, something like that. So for those of you interested in the podcast, it's we're working on it. We're working on it. In lieu of that, you've got me here. And also, I just talked to Nat Geo Live because you guys know that I was doing a lot of public speaking with Nat Geo Live, going to Des Moines and Cincinnati and Indianapolis and Milwaukee and St. Paul and Chicago and I don't know, everywhere in the Midwest it seems, but Seattle, Tacoma. I've been all over, kind of like a singer-songwriter, but of ancient Egypt, which is a little weird. But National Geographic Live has suggested during COVID-19 pandemic that we do Facebook Live for them. And I'm going to do a Facebook Live for Nat Geo with not a script, but a particular take on the Nat Geo Live shows and Q&A and the whole thing. So it'll be on their platform, which will be pretty fun. That's going to be in mid-May, I think. So that's coming up. And otherwise, besides coming up with podcasts, writing a book that's due in September, and playing Monopoly with the children, training them in the art of disappointment, I am also working on some media stuff. So I've got a couple of things that are pretty interesting coming along. So let's see. Pandemic and shutting oneself in seems to be good for developing ideas and narratives and story ideas. And so let's see what happens there. I'll keep you posted when I can share anything. It's a messy business coming up with stories about the ancient world, but it sure is a lot of fun. So we'll see what I can do. Yeah, don't worry, Stephen. I'll get you that Nat Geo Live link. I promise. Don't have it yet, but I'll let you all know. So it'll be fun. I don't have children playing. Oh, the children. I saw somebody posted on Facebook. They said, "Oh, tell us what it's like to shelter in place with no kids, where you get to like cook and watch TV and binge watch things. Tell me all this stuff. Talk dirty to me." It's kind of true. But remember, I'm in a mixed household. So even with the pandemic, even when Italy was shut down and things, and still is, the kids still seem to go back and forth, and sharing custody with children. Oh my goodness, you could do a whole podcast about that, couldn't you? About how do you deal with children that need both of their parents, that do benefit from seeing both of their parents, that want to go back and forth from one household to the next. How do you deal with that in the middle of a pandemic shutdown? And how do you trust the other household to make sure that they're following hygiene rules and all of these things, and how does it work? I'm really lucky to be in the situation I'm in which my ex is so good at the homeschooling thing, and my son is actually really benefiting from it. So that's been brilliant, because I don't have the time, and it's really, really hard. Dirty laundry, dirty dishes. Oh yeah, I have that. The kids are here sometimes not, but my dishwasher broke too. I think I told you guys earlier. And so we've been doing a lot of dishes by hand because, of course, the thing that you relied upon, and while you were eating out more often and not cooking at home as much, of course you had the dishwasher then. And now that I'm cooking at home all the time, we don't have the dishwasher. But anyway, so I had one final, a Coptic. That's awesome. Hey, Bevs. Oh, you're Coptic. That's great. One final little Egyptian puzzle for you guys to piece out. And you can not piece out like peace out, but piece out like puzzle out. So you guys can tell me what you think. When people talk about building pyramids, they talk about it being a drain on society, something that harm society because it's too much of an exploitation of the labor force. It takes too many resources from the ancient Egyptians. It funnels too much into one building that doesn't necessarily need to be built. And that it depletes the society so much that society then crashes in the generations to come after the pyramids are built. There's another theory, which is a Keynesian economic theory, which is that building a pyramid for during a generation of a king is a job building exercise, and that it takes underemployed Egyptians who don't have enough nourishment from their own farms, especially when the Nile is flooded its banks and you can't grow anything, and you're waiting for the Nile waters to recede, and it allows people to go be drafted into labor by the state and to be fed bread and beer and to have an external source of funding. Careful. Oh, thank you. I'm on. That's my stepson. Go quick.
Sorry.
Quick, because you're not supposed to be on the camera. Okay. So the which one is it? This pyramid building scheme, is it something that helps to grow a society or and create jobs, or is it something that depletes a society and destroys all of the jobs? I have another theory, and I'm not going to try to tell you which one it is because I'm not. I think it's kind of a combination of both. I think one is a very positivist way of looking at it, and the other is a little too negative. That building these things that don't have an actual practical purpose destroys a society. I mean, I don't see it completely that way either. The way I see it is in social terms, in terms of power within a society. So if, okay, let me put it this way. So in Dynasty 1, when the king had, in a sense, ultimate power, he could take his elites, make a selection, choose some of them, have them sacrificed to accompany him into burial, and he had power over life and death. That's power, right? By the time you get to Dynasty 4, the king now has to prove his power. So I want you to see the pyramid as a sign of weakness rather than as a sign of strength. The pyramid automatically implies that the king has to prove his power. Size matters with pyramids after all. So if Khufu feels, builder of the greatest pyramid that Egypt or the world has ever seen out of stone, if Khufu decides he needs to prove his kingly power through a pyramid, then he's going to open up a genie or let a genie out of the bottle that he cannot put in. And what I mean by that is to build this pyramid and to take on the straight-sided pyramid building technology developed by his father Snefru, who built 3 pyramids, lots of trying involved in that one. He can't take these elites with all of their expertise, skills, knowledge, and sacrifice them and put them into his own burial. He needs them. He needs to empower them. He needs to pay them well. They need to be respected. And so Khufu, to build this great pyramid, is going to have to systematize an ongoing empowerment of his elites that will lead to, in the generations to come, the downfall of the kingship, the weakening of the kingship. So building a pyramid socially in terms of empowerment of the king, short term, if you've got the resources and you can do it, it's brilliant. You become a king on earth. Khufu is forever after remembered in the literature of ancient Egypt and even today as this despotic man who can change a landscape and a society at his will, and he's extraordinarily powerful. But long term, immediately after Khufu, you have the weakening of the kingship. Pyramids get smaller. They are less complex internally. The pyramid right after, Khafre, on the same Giza plateau, is shorter than the Great Pyramid, but he cheats and builds it on a higher part of the plateau, so it only seems taller. And inside, he has no floating granite chambers. He puts everything within the bedrock cheaper, easier, doesn't really try to do anything that Khufu before him had done. So the pyramid is already of a much lower quality. And then that continues with Menkaure, the third pyramid on the Giza Plateau, and then on to the 5th dynasty pyramid, 6th dynasty, so on and so forth, until by the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, you barely get any pyramid building at all to remark upon. And the elites continue to get so much more powerful as a mass in relation to the king that they're able to grow like it's a plant or an organic thing, right? Build bigger tombs in comparison to the king, and gain more power, and until that kingship is so weakened that it's pushed out entirely in favor of a decentralized elite governmental system that doesn't leave many monuments at all. So that's my conundrum for you today. What does the pyramid do to society long term? Does it strengthen? Does it weaken? Does it help to create jobs? Does it so then go back to those first two, the Keynesian job creation or the destruction of society, and think of it long term or short term, because something could create jobs in the short term, but then over the long term be highly detrimental to society. And I haven't worked out this whole idea in full, but just wanted to share some of my musings about the pyramids, which as a New Kingdom and Third Intermediate Period scholar, I know very little about, but that doesn't mean I can't think about it. So, and I have to teach it. So it's the kind of stuff that one muses about. So I'll read your comments after and reply. And I'm sorry I didn't do Q&A a lot today. Maybe we'll save that for the weekend. So we'll make it a Q&A Saturday and Sunday, so you guys can ask me fun questions, and then we'll see what pops up. I hope you all have epic Monopoly games over the weekend, without too much anger, but Monopoly is, it doesn't disappoint. And it's funny when everyone puts their screens away and actually has conversations with one another, how much you learn about people's personalities and how fun that is. So do something like that, and turn off the TV, get out a game. The other game the children enjoy, and you know what I think we might do this weekend, is pull out the poker. Poker's fun. You don't need chips. You need a deck of cards and some pennies and dimes and quarters, and you've got it. Super fun. Teach the kids some Texas Hold'em. 7-card stud is a good game for children. I like that. Or 7-card draw. Sorry, you can't do you get what I'm saying. But that's pretty fun. And the other game I will recommend, though it does get violent, particularly amongst Coonies, is the game of spoons, also a card game. And if you know that one, you know what I'm talking about. So, keep sheltering in place and stay safe, and do what you can to connect with people. And we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.